Okay, the next name. Okay, this one over here. Al-Malik. Okay, Al-Malik, the king. Okay, the king. Look, the sovereign Lord, the one with the complete dominion, the one whose dominion is clear from imperfection. So you have the kings of this world, okay? So here in the UK, we have a king, don't we? The UK, King of England, right? And before him, there's a queen. What happened to the queen? What happened to the queen, guys?
She died.
Passed away.
Yeah, she died. She passed away. And then, is she a queen anymore? No, she's in the ground. What's happening to her? She's being eaten by maggots and worms and things like that. Her body is decaying. She's rotting away. Now there's a new king. Okay. If you look at his face, he looks like he's rotting in the dunya as well. But eventually he will also die and he will also rot. And then another king will come. His son will take his place or somebody else will take his place. So they are not sovereign lords. They are not complete rulers. Why? Because they only rule for a certain period of time. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the king of kings. He's always Al-Malik. Okay? Kings and queens will come and go, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remain. So he is the sovereign Lord. He is the King of Kings, Al-Malik. He is the ultimate king, the ultimate ruler. The one whose dominion is clear from imperfections. Clear from imperfections, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rules, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rules with perfection. Perfection. Okay, if you look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the world and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks after the world perfectly. Okay, the sun rises and sets right perfectly. Nowadays, you can even get it right down to the minute. People know what time sunrise is going to be and sunset's going to be. Never is there a delay. Never have you woken up in the morning and think, where's the sun? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgot to raise the sun today. No, never happens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has responsibility over the world and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks after his responsibilities perfectly. Al-Malik. Then the next one. If you have any questions, guys, please do ask, okay? If you want me to expand on anything. Sometimes, right, when we go over things, questions will occur, right? Remember, there's no such thing as a silly question, okay? So always ask it. The next one. Al Qudus. Okay, Al Qudus, the most sacred, the most holy, and before the most pure. Okay, the most pure. So the most sacred, the most holy, the most pure. The one who is pure, so far removed from any imperfections. He has no shortcomings. Evil is not attributed to him. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so perfect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have any type of imperfections whatsoever. Okay, if you look at a picture, right, or if you look at a tree, or if you look at a human being, if you look at something, you may be able to identify some type of imperfection in it. Okay, some type of imperfection. I remember just in my mind, I remembered when there was one of the Sahaba Ikram, and they were comparing the moon to the face of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they were looking at the moon and then looking at the face of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they're trying to work out which is more beautiful. And they say, look at the moon, it looks so beautiful. However, when you look closely, it's got some dark patches in it. It's got some types of imperfections in there, craters in there, right? Raggedy surfaces in there. However, there was no imperfections on the beloved face of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you look at something even as beautiful as the moon, it is imperfect. The sun, it is imperfect. Okay. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure and perfect, and there's no imperfections in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does, it is perfect. Whether we can see the perfection in it or not, that's beside the point. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect. I've got an example in my mind, but Zakaria, you got a question? What's the question?
But it's a bit of time, but it got to do with the moon and Prophet ﷺ. So is it true that as a miracle, the Prophet ﷺ wrote his initials on the moon?
I don't know about writing his initials, but I know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam split the moon. I've never heard about writing his initials in there. That's a new one. Never heard that one before, right? However, there is a hadith, authentic hadith, how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam pointed his thumb at the moon and then split it, right? And there's witnesses as well. People saw it in Syria and places like that. They witnessed the moon splitting. And I'm sure I read something about when the people went and they sent, I don't know whether they went to the moon or not, because there's a big conspiracy. However, they do have images of the moon, and they're saying there's a huge crater which is going around the moon. But khair, anyways, let's get back to the topic over here. I was going to give an example that you say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect, but what about all the imperfect things which are happening in the world now? Right? Like if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect, He could have created everybody perfectly. How come sometimes some people are created imperfectly? Like some people are created with a disability. Okay. Some people are created with, some sort of challenges. For example, this is not a big one, but look, Zakaria over here wears glasses. Okay. The rest of us, we're not wearing glasses, but Zakaria's got glasses on. Why didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him good eyesight, perfect eyesight, but He makes him wear glasses? This is a question that sometimes people can think of, right? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all praise is attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then how about all the evil things that are happening in the world? We can not answer this with our limited minds, okay? Because sometimes we may see something and to us it feels as though this is imperfect. However, on the grand scale of things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more aware. For example, there's a child, right, and he has a tumor. Child, let's just say he has a tumor growing on his hand. Okay. And you have to call a specialist doctor. And what is the doctor doing? He has to get a knife, really, really sharp knife, and he starts cutting the tumor. Now, somebody who doesn't realize what's going on over here, they will think, what's this guy doing? He's cutting up this child. By looking, it looks as though the doctor is harming the child. He's got a knife and he's stabbing into the child's hand and he's cutting his hand. But really, he needs to do this to purify it. He needs to do this to clean it. He needs to do this to cure the hand. So just by the offset, it looks like something evil's happening. However, there's actually good in it. So sometimes when you see evil things in the world and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing it to happen, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's infinite wisdom. Only He knows why this is happening. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself is Al Qudus. He is the most holy, the most sacred, the most pure.